Hi everyone and welcome back to Zero to Hero, episode 2 this time, where we are of course going on my Brewmaster and going all the way from Mythic 0 score this season all the way up to, well, I decided that, I'm gonna try and aim for the 3000 to get it here, this character. So yeah, after last week we reached 884. To this week we have Incorporal, which is gonna be a really interesting mechanic fix to deal with, as well as Sanguine that I think I'm gonna deal with once, maybe. I think they came on the 14th, right? So I think we're gonna that's what we're gonna hit this week. We're gonna go out all the way up to a 14. But first of all, let's check our vault for this reset. Honestly, pretty okay. We do end up taking the head over there for the tier set. I was considering getting the weapon, but I already have a weapon. It is a two-hander. And I'm actually not 100% sure, but back when I last time played Brewmaster, at least back in Shadowlands, it was pretty notorious for you only wanted a one-hander because it meant that you attacked faster, and attacking faster as a Brewmaster also means that you dodge more somehow. So yeah, of course, this helmet have completely ruined the transmog, and if you know me, the first thing we need to do is get a proper transmog. So of course I had to rock out the digging transmog from the new public events. I absolutely think this is one of the best sets at all. 436 is the art level when we're starting this week off, which is we getting up there, but it's definitely on the low side, and I was a little bit not anxious, but I was a little bit curious about what key level should I start pushing around this level, because I'm hitting 440, which I kind of assumed that 440 means that you can go into, I would say, the 10s, right? So I'm right on the edge there, right? Where I could push up. So we start up the first week here with Waycrest 7, which honestly we have a few wipes and a few not wipes. We have a few, just a couple deaths and not that many mistakes. So not really much to talk about, honestly. But that of course leads us into my 8th Everbloom. Now, there's a few things that is interesting to talk about. First of all is, who do you kick here when you want to do this big pull? Because you definitely want to do this big pull even in the lower keys, or even if you are lower eye level and stuff like that, because it's so efficient and so inefficient just to take these packs on their own. Honestly, I like to kick the caster in the next pack, not the 2 in the beginning, simply just because I kind of am hoping and having faith that when someone in the pack can see that I'm running ahead, that they will actually kick it in order to move it ahead, because no one else is gonna kick the guy all the way in the end there. So that's kind of my mentality of going through this here. Now the Hunter did actually pick up this pack, which I wanted eventually, but not right now, which I thought was kind of weird. But here I am just moving ahead, going continuing here, and I notice, well, I don't notice, but I realized that I'm taking a lot of damage here. I'm getting stunned. Why is he targeting me? And that's when I noticed, when I started looking around, what's going on here. Yep, that's right. All my DPSs are just focusing down this guy, this caster on his own. And you can see here, I'm trying to ping out. I'm hey guys, help me. I'm getting stunned. Please, I'm gonna die if you don't, jump in. They do eventually jump in. And also here, Incorporal spawns, but we are Monk. We can easily take care of it. At least one. We can always take. It is a little bit annoying, or just I'm spoiled from playing Demon Hunter, because on Demon Hunter, the imprisonment, the one that you use in the Incorporal, that's ranged, whereas when you're playing a Monk, that's not ranged at all. So there's gonna be multiple times where I just go up to an ad and I press it and I'm yeah, sure, I got it, and then just to realize that, oh no, I was definitely not in rage for that. Now something interesting is I like to go this little route. I like to pick up this pack right here, and the reason for that is simply just because I actually like to skip the entire Mage area, because I really feel that in PUGs and everything, those are the most annoying and most dangerous to deal with. Everbloom kind of works in a way, like routing wise, you know, that you can kind of like choose. They're like the free areas, like the flowers up to the first boss, and then you know there's like the brutes and like abomination area up to the second boss, and then there's the mage area, and you can basically have to take two of one of each of like two of one of those zones or like areas. Like you have to basically clear almost everything. And then you can actually skip a third one. So you can kind of choose which one you would rather skip. And I honestly I would rather just skip the mages. So that means that, you know, this area right here, I'm just clearing everything. Every single thing. Except for the guys right there in that house. You see, like in the tree house behind us. I actually don't go in there. You can actually go in there, jump out the window and skip even more. But here you can see, you know, I believe you need something like 83 or 84%, I believe. And what you want to do is you want to go up here, take these assistants, and this is perfect because you actually want this patrol. And also for the percentage, but also just because like he will just like he's really annoying to deal with in the patrol, and you can't actually risk ending up pulling him on the boss. So it's honestly, even if you pull a little bit more, it's honestly better just to take that patrol with you and going a little bit over percentage than it is to just leave him be, honestly, in a PUG. If you're playing with friends or like, you know, on communication with everyone, then yeah, you would probably talk to him. And then after the last boss, the mage boss, you just pick up, like, I only need 4 here, so, and each of these assistants gives 1% like on their own. You can see here, I am just like, I thought I was in range because, you know, I thought with being corporal, I thought that I was like, I didn't have to like stand in melee. But yeah, everything else works really fine. I just really wanted to show you guys the skipping route, I guess it's called. Like you know, my mage skipping route. So yeah, unfortunately no gear, but we did hit 1,000 score. I'm gonna continue this quest of like timing everything just above, below 10, but above like, yeah, 5 or stuff like that. And here I have the sweet healer asking me to please not pull too much, which I of course then immediately go in and pull way too much. Now what is unbelievably stupid for me for doing this is, number one, I've made videos before talking about how tanking, if you want to have really like great success as a tank and like with PUGs and stuff like that, you need to make your routing and your pacing dynamic to the skill ceiling of your group. Meaning that, you know, if you have a guy who's just very openly, this healer is amazing because he just was very openly and please like asking me not to pull too much. You know, that's gonna show an experience, and I should have listened to that because here he dies. And this was also a really, really crappy pull from my side off because I just did not have aggro. Meaning that a lot of people took a lot of damage, probably stressing the healer out, probably causing a mistake happened for him to die. I'm honestly not quite sure what killed him. I think it was the soaking thing that he did not run off. He didn't like make it out of that. But again, at the end of the day, you know, I probably caused that stress on him when I really did not need to. So we're gonna have a wipe on the first boss, which, yeah, that's what it is. We go in again and then it's absolutely really like perfect. No problem whatsoever. But I mean, I do test him out, and I do, you know, I know where the like pretty bigger pulls, and I'm really like confident in what I can survive at this point, or at least I'm getting more and more comfortable with that. I do notice that in general the healer here is struggling, and you know, I can see right now that he died without using his cooldowns. I'm looking at the eye level of him, and he's not really that low. So right here, I'm like, yeah, okay, it's 100% inexperience. But hey, like we're doing fine. One thing about this dragon though, I know it's skippable. I have never skipped it before, like me personally, but also if I'm playing a healer or like, you know, a DPS or like whatever, I don't see people skipping it, which makes perfect sense because it's kind of not that bad or like, you know, that like ruthless. It gives pretty good count. It doesn't take that long to kill, even on a like 20 fortified. It's still manageable and actually fine, right? It seems like more of a hassle to skip it than not, at least in PUGs. If you're on a full like communication with your team, absolutely do it, right? Because you have more than enough percentage. Here again, you know, I could have gone just one dragon at a time. But again, I don't know. Leave me in the please leave in the comments if I'm being an asshole here for for over pulling or trying to push the heal a little bit, right? Because honestly, he even wrote it himself at the end of this run that I told him, I was like, hey, I hope I didn't stress you out too much, and he was like, hey man, I gotta learn somehow, and I guess that's true. Just a little side note on this boss though, I feel like it's kind of luring people to press Bloodlust here because it's usually when you have it back up. If you are pressing Bloodlust in this boss, which I don't really think is that much worth, you want to do it here in the last phase. And also I think it's not that worth it because of all the intermissions and all the reset it does, from with your dots and everything. Here I go again with pulling insanely, huge. Our Mage even bloodlusted right here, which I honestly don't think is that worth it. I think it's still better just to keep it for the boss. But hey, I mean, it got us through it, and you can see me. My stagger is all the way red, so maybe it was actually worth it. So this is actually super interesting for me. We actually end up wiping not once but twice on the last boss, and I for the life of me just could not figure out what was killing us, right? You see, I'm right here, I'm like, did we just make it? This is the boss where we're supposed to do the damage down. Why did we, what happened? Why did we die here? And the reason we died, if you don't know, is because you're supposed to heal Chromie. I honestly have never been out for been experienced where this has been a problem ever in any PUG, so I actually completely forgot that this is actually a healer mechanic. And then yeah, you are doing this soaking thing, you are supposed to heal the Chromie. You can see she almost died here again, but after the third time you asked our healer of people or someone else, I think it was the Mage or something like that, told him hey, you need to really pump out healing here. Eventually we got him and we timed it, and yeah, it was fun dungeon. As you can see here, third time's the charm, and here I am hoping that the healer wasn't too stressed out. And it's true, man. You gotta learn. Going into Atal the Sound of 5, not really much here to say. It goes pretty smoothly. This dungeon is definitely gonna be a pain when I go up into higher difficulties because of this boss. It just sucks every time when you have a dungeon that's relatively pretty easy, and then you have the last boss which is just a killer, and then you spend 25 to 30 minutes sometimes going into a key that's basically dead from the get-go. So I can't wait for that dungeon. Here I am, we're upgrading our gear, trying to see if we can't push ourselves to 440 because I don't know, I just like round numbers, I guess. Yeah, and I'm just, trying to time every single key on a fortified at this point. That's my main goal going into this week. But I just want to point out with Rise here, whew, that is, I told you that Atal the Sound is going to be something I'm looking forward to. Rise is definitely going to be a pain in the ass. Just look at how much damage is coming out. Now, it did actually get nerfed going into this week, and that can definitely be felt on the Tank Buster. Thank God, I think it was hit by 25%, but it's definitely still gonna hurt, and it's gonna hurt a lot on Monk because we don't do really well with bleeds and stuff like that. One great thing that came out of this is I got a shoulder piece, and that of course means I can have my 4 set now. Now, of course, the 4 set basically just makes it so we do more fire damage, which in case, heals us even more. So it basically just makes us even more powerful and do even more damage. This tier set from my research is really, really great in Mythic Plus and AoE situations. but not really that beneficial in raid or single target. So we're gonna be a little bit behind probably some of the other things on Tyrannical, but all in all, it's great for having this tier set in Mythic Plus. Now going into A7 Thrones, the first time with this tier set. And yeah, this is basically my warm-up key for my own key that I have. I have an 11 Black Rook Hold. And what is going to be really like, you know, I don't know if it's calm or whatever. The reason why I'm doing a warm-up key, not only to just, you know, warm up your muscle memory, is also just to test out my computer, because my computer is absolutely shit, and it's absolutely horrible. But also my internet sometimes just decides to cut completely off, and the run before that, it actually happened. I have really terrible internet. It helps to, like, you know, reset it, close the WoW sometimes and open it up again, and sometimes it's back. And here you can see, and the internet is perfectly fine. Everything is going, you know, great and everything. But then as soon as you actually need to get, like, as soon as you're actually trying to push, that's where all the trouble's gonna come. But yeah, this Throne of the Tide is gonna lead us to 1173, which is really great, and I'm honestly surprised how fast we are climbing this. It seems extreme, like really quick. Now I just want to point out here that the start of your success for your key starts with finding the right people. And here I'm not talking about meta or, like, you know, picking the meta classes, because honestly right now the balance seems pretty good, honestly. You can pick a lot of different specs. There are definitely gonna be specs that's really good. One spec that's really slacked on, honestly, is Retribution Paladin. Definitely try, if you see one in your, like, site up here, absolutely take them with you. You get battle res, and also they have incredible burst and also frequent burst for some reason. So they are just doing a ton of damage almost every single pull. But basically my key rule here is I want a battle res, I want Bloodlust, and that's basically it. Like, those two are the mandatory, I guess. Honestly, I actually like, my friend says it's a little bit like over redundant, but I honestly like to have 2 battle reses, because if the person dies, the person who has battle res dies, yeah, you have another one, right? It sucks when the guy with battle res, he dies. But here we are in the 11 Black Rook Hold. The first time I'm pushing into the plus 10s, and you can see right here that as soon as I enter the key, my internet just completely crashes. And you can see, like, if you look at the my action bar, not the weak over, but if you look at the action bar, you can see me pressing the buttons and nothing happens. And you were like, you know, later on, you're gonna see me, like, completely in a panic because I'm trying to taunt a boss or something like that, and I just can't, I just can't, it just won't let me. The game just won't let me, and I just see my DPS is getting smacked around. And looking back at this clip, you know, again, maybe I should have listened to my own advice when I know that my internet is really crappy. Maybe it's not a good idea to just pull like nothing is wrong at all. Maybe I should have been a little bit more chill. You can see here that I think the mage died because I honestly just ran past them. It didn't register that I, you know, used a spinning crane kick or anything. So, you know, the mage just picked up aggro and just got absolutely annihilated. So, you know, mage, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. Here, yeah, I died. So I tried to, like, you know, I think this is where you can see me, like, really panic. Look at the action bar. Now, while I'm panicking in the background, I just want to point out this definitely has become one of my favorite pulls this whole season. I'm actually starting to Bloodlust this pull simply just because you have Bloodlust coming up basically for the second boss if you use it on the first pull, which I use every single time, whether it's Tyrannical or Fortified, because honestly the first boss is kind of like a joke. And the first pull hurts a lot, even if it is on Tyrannical. So I honestly have Bloodlust coming up to second boss, but again, second boss honestly isn't that much like that bad or anything. So I honestly just save it for this pull and then pull like 3 packs. It's not the best idea to do this on like something like bolstering. Is something I have found out. Sanguine is also a pain in the ass because you have to move around, but it's doable in Sanguine definitely. Look how long it takes me to gather aggro, and I'm just you know, I'm just pressing everything I have. And here the game completely, you know, freezes up. This I'm gonna tell, I'm laughing right now, but like in the moment, I was not happy. I was not happy. You can see this. I have a 2,000 ping. I have a 2,000 ping. What the fuck? How is that possible? Anyway, so we actually ending up 2-chesting it, I believe. No, that's actually free chesting it. Yeah, we ended up free chesting it because we have some absolutely blasters with us. Going in because I needed a break after that. I needed something easy. So I just went to an 8 Dark Heart Frigate. But yeah, sometimes, you know, the game goes like, you know, against you, and there's nothing you can do, right? You go into a key, and it's this is what I also like, you know, think about a lot, that like you can honestly get into a toxic mindset if you just accept that like a key is just always timed, or like, you know, you deserve it, or like whatever. A lot can happen. Sometimes your internet just completely crashes. Now we did time it, but it's not a given that any key is timeable. That's basically my point. And if you think that, like if you go into expecting every single key that you're doing to be timeable or like timed, I think you're gonna have a lot of frustration. So if you can kind of like, you know, let go a little bit, yeah, this game's gonna be much more fun for you, and this like pucking experience. Here I am, like back in front of the tides on a 10. I feel a lot more when I'm not lacking completely. I feel very comfortable in my survivability. I guess this is a good point to talk a little bit about the monk and like, you know, what has happened like from day 1 to from week 1 to week 2. So I made a whole shebang last video about my talent trees and like how I have a little bit different talent tree because I'm trying to take some of the active buttons out and put like some more passives in there just to deal with the button bloat. And I'm still working around my talents and picking up stuff and taking stuff down that we'll talk about a little bit later. But someone commented on my video that I believe they're playing Blood Death Knight and they want to play Monk, but they were really concerned about the button bloat, like, you know, because they just, understandable, right? And that kind of led the question to, can I recommend the Monk to you right now in its stage? Absolutely. Absolutely. Monk is, as soon as you get it down, and it has like a rhythm to it. A rhythm with like, you know, throwing down your keks, and then, you know, your fire, breath of fire, your purifying pool, your celestial pool. It has like a rhythm to it that I genuinely really like and find super fun. And that's basically the point. Like the Monk is, when you get it down, it's honestly one of the most fun tanks that you can play right now. And the core of fundamental about the Brewmaster Monk with like stagger and, as I mentioned before, your core damage rotation is honestly really great. But then you have the issue of button bloat. But the reason why I can still recommend it is because I honestly think that Brew is an easy recommendation if you are looking for an ult, right? If you're looking to play something else, try something else, that Monk is definitely up there. You should definitely do it. And the reason I talked about this in my what am I going to main for season 3, and I mentioned that Monk was something that I was really enjoying. And I was definitely interested to play it as an ult. But the reason why not a main is because this button bloat thing is something that's going to be bigger, more and more of a nuisance. The more you play, kind of the more you get like, you know, there's an aspect of it where you get used to it, but there's also just like some annoyances that just keep going if you're playing with the talent, because that's what I'm doing. You can also just change up the talents. You are honestly not losing much. You're losing damage, which is fine at the end of the day. And if it really isn't, like if you're finding yourself that you just can't time a key or something terrible is going wrong because the tank damage is so extremely low, or like, you know, you just need to oomph a little bit more, that's where you can make the decision to change it. But there's no reason to have all of these abilities if you're not going to use them for climbing all the key levels and stuff like that. So if you're willing to not play as damage orientated or optimized and sacrifice a little bit of damage for more passive defensive abilities, I think the monk is absolutely wonderful. But with that said, it definitely do need I don't know if it's the rework it needs, but like it does need a look at the talent, a little bit pruning, a little bit taking some abilities away, and then it needs to scale a lot better with haste, in my opinion. I think that's really one of the bigger faults, or what makes it a little bit clunky sometimes to play is just how badly it scales with haste. And I think it's correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's the same just with the monk overall, with Windwalker and Mistweaver. Windwalker and Mistweaver. Did I just say Mistweaver? Whatever. Whatever. Yeah, so absolutely can I recommend the monk. It's just be cautious with the button load, change some talents around. Don't be afraid of that, and have fun with it, right? It's such an interesting and it's such a different tank than all the others. That is really something that needs to be experienced if you are interested in tanking. Now I actually go in here in 11 Atal'Dazar, and these guys are going to be so great. I'm actually going to keep going with them for the next dungeon, because they actually ask if we want to continue, and I was like, hell yeah, and if you get a good team, definitely do that. Definitely ask them if they want to play more, because 9 of the 10 times they want to. Okay, maybe not 9 of 10, maybe a little bit exaggeration, but it's always a no before you ask, and there's no reason to play the PUG lotto, right? If you've got a good players here, you already have to prove that you have the good players. Just ask them if they want to keep going. But regarding the talent tree, actually something that I did think about over the last week here is that, yeah, the talent tree is a little bit wonky with all these different abilities that, you can pick up, and all the key bindings you need, stuff like that. The talent tree actually does have some interesting choices. My favorite choice here is the talent tree talent point, that goes on the fortifying brew, which is basically your big cooldown, defensive cooldown. Every monk has it, but it's a little bit special on the brewmaster because it increases your stagger. But the point is just that you have a choice. It's 6 minutes cooldown. It does have built-in cooldown reduction that every single time you use your brews, not your brews, sorry, every time you use your Tiger Palm Strike, whatever it's called. I'm sorry, I'm so bad at these names, guys. I'm sorry. Or your keg, it's gonna reduce its cooldown, but it still has a 6 minute cooldown, which is really, really big. Realistically, you can probably shave 2 minutes off, 2.5 minutes, depending on how good of a player you basically are, So realistically, we might be talking about 4 minutes cooldowns, but that's still a lot for the defensive cooldown. Now, your choice in the talent tree is you can choose to reduce that to 4 minutes. Or you can keep it at 6 minutes and actually increase the value of it by so much, giving it 20% damage reduction. I think also increasing the amount that you stagger with even more. So that's something I've been working on, switching between the two. And for this, the beginning of this, these couple of runs, I actually had the talent that made it a 4 minute cooldown, because I'm so that's a brew. I don't really need it for that extra mitigation now. But going into the 10s and the 11s, and the next dungeon we're gonna go into at 14, I kind of noticed that, okay, yeah, maybe getting that extra damage reduction onto the fortifying brew is good enough, but then we run into the problem of the cooldown, which is why I changed my talents once again. Now the thing I took is Blackout Combo here, and I absolutely love this talent, and I'm glad that I took it. So only negative about this talent is that you kind of have to lose one of your capstones on your class tree, meaning the Bone Brew or Weapons of Order mainly, or Exposing Keg and having so you kind of have to lose one of those. So it's just to choose which one you want to lose basically. But what it does is basically reduces your, if you use it like, you know, yeah, I mentioned this in the last video. Every time you use your blackout kick, it increases your the value or the effectiveness or basically almost all your abilities. But it also just increases the amount of cooldown you reduce. Yeah, I guess the amount of cooldown you reduce. And this talent working with the special delivery, which is the one where I throw a kick up in the air, and you know, this one with the extra fortifying brew damage reduction. I honestly think I have a really good talent build right here, defensively at least. I really feel very confident on the monk. And I did not do that last week. Now, I did honestly feel defensively fine, but like also just the rotation. I feel like I'm getting into that rhythm that I talked about before. But that's the thing about monk. As you probably can see on like a lot of these pulls, I'm pulling really big. Regarding like, you know, relatively to my eye level and also like the dungeon level and all that. And you can definitely see it in the next one, next dungeon, how much I'm just gonna like, you know, be in red stacker. But I honestly have confidence in it, and with these cooldown reductions, I feel like I got a handle of it too, honestly. So yeah, of course we say yes please to the 14 Black Rook Hold. We are back again. This time, hopefully, I won't lag all over the place. As I mentioned before here, yeah, this you definitely want Bloodlust on this this pack right here. Something I don't see tanks utilize here in the first boss is you want actually to bring him all the way in the corner over here. So the reason for that is, you know, he does a frontal, and that frontal is going to take like half of the arena, but you can actually force him all the way up in this corner right here, and your party members just have so much room to, like, you know, look at this. Look at all this room that your party just have, that you know, they not are taking up by a frontal. So I always tank him here, basically, or one of the other corners. This is something I'm trying to be a little bit better at, but like communicating with your team is also a huge way to like get success. Here I am just telling them that I'm gonna pull all the way up to big spiders, so they don't have to like stop and worry and think about like where I'm going. Now that I've like pushed a little bit on the monk here and I'm a little bit more into like content that I'm clearly like undergeared for, one thing that really stands clear is the way to fail at Brewmaster Monk is basically just to be impatient or panicking, which is true for basically all classes, but it's really felt on the monk simply because you have, you know, your brews, which is really beneficial, but you need to wait for the right moment. Sometimes it makes sense to purify when you're like on yellow stagger, but like in a dungeon like this, when I'm undergeared and stuff like that, that yellow is gonna turn to red in like a second. Meaning that if I use a brew on yellow, it's the next second I have yellow again, right? So there is like again, you need to like, that's like the difficult part. Like you really just cannot panic. You will actually have time when it goes into the red. You actually have a lot of time before you are really in danger. So don't be afraid to like hold it off just for a second. But you can see here, you know, unlucky enough for the AoE, and also I get hit by this Arcane Blast, which is absolute annihilation. I think we doubled interrupted the same pack or something like that. So people just get completely annihilated, but hey, we do finish it pretty quickly. We go into this pull again. Again, I just want to showcase it. It's so much fun. You can see how much I'm pulling here, asking for Bloodlust, and almost dying, right? But you know, I'm the monk. I just keep going. Look how like confident I am right here, and I'm just like in stagger. By the way, I am full on panicking, stressing. Looking back. It looks so like, you know, seamlessly. I'm like, oh yeah, it's just red stagger, sure, problem. And I'm just like freaking out here because I'm like, I need that cooldown reduction. I need to hit them, but like, you know, my keg is not, it's off cooldown, and I'm not in melee for my Tiger Palm strike, whatever. Oh, But it's all about being patient. It's all about knowing when to purify and when not to, when to hold on to it. Same thing with the Celestial Pool, your big shield. Something something I did when I first started out was basically just to really buff it up, and thinking that I need to hit like 100% increase. If you don't know, by the way, the amount of stagger that you purify will increase the amount of shield that you will get on your Celestial Pool when you use it. So the thought process is basically that you use your brews before you use your Celestial Pool. But honestly, I just want to point this out, if you're also playing Monk, the base amount of shield that you get from a non-buffed up Celestial Pool is still really sufficient, that you should not hold it off if you can't buff it up. It's still worth to throw it out. That might sound obvious, but I spent a lot of time in the beginning. You can see here I died because it was a little bit too much, which is fine. I think if I just got a little bit more gear, then I would have been fine. I could also probably have used my cooldowns better, knowing me. That usually takes a little bit of time. You have to die a few times before you're like, oh yeah, I have dampened harm on. Why didn't I use that? And that's how you learn. You analyze your mistakes. You find out, why did I die? Could I do anything different? Yeah, you could. Then honestly, that's basically it. And then you never do that mistake again. So yeah, being patient, and then right now what I'm really trying to learn a little bit more of is just your cooldowns, when to use them, because I'm also sitting on them for a very long time, because that's also the thing about the Monk. You kind of can, because your brews, your stagger, how that works, and just your Celestial Pool kind of makes you so you don't have to use defensive cooldowns all the time, which might sound great, but honestly it's still better to use your defensive cooldowns, because that's less that the healer needs to heal, and the less that healer needs to heal, either he can focus on other players, your DPSers, or he can do damage. So using your cooldown reductions, even though you might not need them, you wouldn't have died, is still beneficial. It's still a damage increase if you look at the overall damage in the group. So yeah, we timed the 14, which got me extremely pumped, so pumped that I was eager to try my 14 Rise. Oh yeah, Rise. We just love that dungeon, don't we? That's just, everyone's favorite dungeon, and it's not screwed at all. No, not one bit. Yeah, so I'm feeling really frustrated about Rise at this point. Honestly, I don't even hate it. The point is simply just that I think the mechanics are too difficult in here for PUGs. Because a lot of the mechanics, basically the first boss and the Alliance and Horde boss, is all about baiting, which PUGs are just notoriously really bad at. And I honestly don't really blame them, because who's telling them what is signifying that what they should bait them at, right? So here you're supposed to bait the cone that he does outwards. Oh, you can see the it's not here, I'm sorry, but yeah, you're supposed to bait it out, and people are just not really doing it. So you can see here they're baiting it towards the center. I forgot my internet is back. I'm lagging here again. Because if you look at the there go our healer also decided to take the tank buster with us. So this is a great start to this run, and of course, with our healer dead, I'm thinking to myself that maybe I can actually be self-reliant here, but I was a little bit like curious if other people could survive it with the spell, but then of course no one took the orbs, so we died. We had to wipe. Going in again. This time we do actually finish it up pretty smoothly. It went pretty fine. So yeah, this is definitely the pain for me, this boss right here. This is definitely where, like, you know, most of my frustration is. So you can see his, like, every single ability he does, he's not supposed to hit our, like, so if it's Horde, he's not supposed to hit the Alliance, and if it's Alliance, he's not supposed to hit the Horde. If he does, he's gonna have a big nasty debuff on him that, you know, every single time he melees me, it's gonna do a lot of raid damage. Now the reason why this is frustrating for me is because, like, first of all, I can't really do much if people are not, you know, baiting. The second part is he has such a nasty tank buster right here. It just reduces all the healing done by 75%. And a lot of tanks, you might not realize, a lot of tanks rely on healing. So that makes this this boss like really painful when he's also added on top of that extra damage. He's also added, like, you know, the debuff. So we end up wiping here again, but you can see when, like, we going in again, like, how many stacks here. You can see, like, every time he's hitting me, he has this, like, you know, wind, like, blowing off, and you can see people are taking damage, right? And it is also, like, you know, a stressful dungeon because you also have ads that you need to, like, pick up on and, like, kill off really quickly. And here you can see, like, he's coming towards me with, like, what is that, 14 stacks? 13 now? Just bashing away at me. I am stressing out. You can see, like, our healers also picked up on it. He gave me Life Cocoon, which is, you know, goated. Great for the... And here I'm getting the 75% tank buster. It's so stressful, honestly, and it's such a pain. And yeah, people just are not baiting it. For some reason, people are just standing here. I'm trying to, like, you know, tell people when, like, you know, we're about to go in the boss. I'm like, hey, you know, please bait boss, but not really much is going on. So I honestly think that at this point, Blizzard just needs to be better at indicating, like, what you're supposed to do. Because honestly, it also just wasn't clear for me until I actually sat down and learned it. I mean, you know, researched it and figured it out, because we were just dying and I was like, what are we dying to? What is all this damage? And people were telling me to, like, move it to the all the way to the edge, and I was like, oh, why? That's why I figured it out, right? So I don't know. I'm honestly a little bit frustrated, but I'm not really blaming PUGs. Yeah, it's annoying that people are not really baiting, but I think I'm expecting too much of PUGs if I'm expecting them to bait. Honestly, I think Blizzard's job is to make dungeons a little bit more clear with, like, the mechanics, like, what are you supposed to do. But now that we talked about how terrible PUGs are, let me show you me completely wiping this dungeon. So yeah, for some reason, basically internet, here I am spamming. Look at the action bar. I'm spamming taunt, and nothing is happening. Nothing is happening whatsoever. My internet is completely screwing up at this point. Please send me new internet, and it just means that we are wiping to this over and over and over again. I am so frustrated because, yeah, this hasn't already been a great run, and so this was really icing on the cake. And this is, like, this frontal is doing so much damage. I am not, like, using my cooldowns, so it's not just internet. Let me get that right. Like, I'm also just fucking up my cooldowns here and, like, not really saving them for the right moment. And again, I'm also just straight up on the gear, right? So I'm, like, not supposed to be here. This was kind of like my indicator. I'm like, oh, okay, I should not push, like, 14s when I'm just hitting 440. Like, I need some more gear. I need some more experience. Learning the dungeons more from a brewmaster perspective, like when to use cooldowns and all of that. But yeah, we do end up cutting on the last boss. We end up getting through, which is great. One thing I wanted to say is just I want to use Bloodlust here on the last phase, because at the first phase you're honestly just focusing focusing in ads. And on the last phase, that's where like most of the danger is. But that was the last dungeon for this reset, and we ended up going to 1449. Yeah, I'm honestly really pleased with that. I think it's a really good get-go from like, you know, going into the next reset. As you can see on like, you know, my time dungeons here, I have a lot of like, not a lot, but I have a few 2s and going into theoretical I can pick up. And then next week again, I even have some low fortified that also give me a lot of score. So I am really sure that I can like get a KSM like relatively soon. You know, I might be able to push that into next week. And then I don't know if I can get 2500 next week again, but yeah, it's looking really, really great. And with upgrading gear and everything, all of that, you know, at the end of the day, we hit 442 eye level. That needs to be bumped up a little bit more. You can see you have a really, really low trinket, and I also have a lot of other gear that's like, you know, relatively low. I have been lacking on it. And by the way, this is my talent tree that I've been running for the last few dungeons, so you can see what I'm rocking with, what I'm doing. But my point was just that I'm kind of been lagging on the gear a little bit. There is definitely easier ways to get gear. I just, you know, the campaign is honestly the first thing that, you know, can instantly get you to 415 or 420, I think, which was useful a little bit back. But yeah, it's honestly, I've just been grinding keys, and that's how I've been getting gear, and just operating them. So not the most optimizing way, but yeah, it's getting along. I should probably focus a little bit more on getting gear. I also getting some few sparks that I'm considering, you know, using for upgrading stuff. But yeah, you need to see that in the next week, in the next episode. Okay, guys, this is it for today. Take care, everyone, and yeah, see you in the next one.